Hi, this is Érika from a small robot studio. Welcome to a new release of my beginner guide to Nomad Sculpt. This time I am using Nomad 1.90. Follow this step by step to create your own skull lantern. And even better, to grasp the basics of 3D sculpting and apply them to create anything you can imagine. Let's get started with navigation. Every new project starts with a sphere. Tap and drag one finger on the background to rotate. Now it barely looks like I'm moving, so here at the very bottom, I'm gonna tap on grid to see this reference floor. Now a 2-finger tap and drag is gonna let me pan the camera. And of course, 2 fingers and pinch is gonna let me zoom in and out. A really fast way to move around is using this little guy over here, known as a snap cube. If I tap on the front face, it's gonna take me on the perfect front face. If I tap it again, it's gonna revert to the back. So I can do that with any side. Now the very first step to learn sculpting is grab the clay tool and experiment. Get a feel for it. The size and the intensity of your brush can be adjusted with these sliders on the left. Note as well that the symmetry button is active. Whatever I do on the right is gonna be repeated on the left. When the sub button is active, it means that you're pushing your clay down. But when it is not active, you're pulling it up. Try different brushes and just play with no expectations. Alright, now this is starting to look silly. So let me explain why. I'm gonna tap down here on the wire button, and this is gonna show me the elements that make up this digital clay. In 3D, we have points which are connected by lines, which then create faces, which are known also as polygons. This collection of faces create an object. The arrangement of these 3 items is known as topology. Now, my sculpt is looking all weird because I've overlapped and stretched faces too much. Here at the bottom left, I'm gonna undo into a way less chaotic point. Alright, now I'm gonna open the resolution menu, this 4th icon, and select the first tab, multi-resolution. I'm gonna activate this little pin to keep this menu open. Now with my wire on, I'm gonna bring this slider down and even tap on reverse a couple times. This is reducing the resolution of my object. I have way less topology. Of course, it's so little that all my detail is basically done. There's just not enough faces for it. Now, don't let this fool you into believing that high resolution is better. Before detail, I want to establish my base volumes. Let's say I want this to look like an inflated ball. So maybe I'm gonna grab the flatten tool and go around. I'll try it on the front, but that is destroying my detail. So maybe I'm gonna use the move tool to try to push this back. And if we're honest, this looks very uneven and bumpy. That's just very messy, and that's not how my mom raised me. So we're gonna try again, but this time with low resolution. Once again, I'm gonna use my flatten tool to go around and make these changes. Now this is way easier because I have a lot less points. I'm only dealing with a few instead of thousands as I was before. The best part is when I bring back up the resolution slider. All my lovely details are back. I always begin my sculpts with low resolution and slowly bring it up as I start introducing detail. Multi-resolution makes it easy to jump between both stages. Multi-resolution is your friend. Take advantage of it. Alright, now I'm gonna tap on this book down here. This is my history, every change that I made. And I'm gonna go back to the very start. Once again, I will open multi-resolution and bring this down. If I tap on reverse, I can go even more steps down. Depending on the mesh is how far down you can go. This is good enough for me. Now that we know this, we can begin our first proper sculpt of a skull. Grab my move tool and make this brush bigger. I'm gonna grab the bottom and I'm gonna stretch it side by side and a little bit front to back. Now I'm gonna bring the bottom up a little bit, sort of to flatten that base. From the side view, I'm gonna bring the back higher up. Now usually a skull tends to be a bit flatter on the front, and this is very round. From this side I'm gonna bring this a little bit closer to the front, and I can see that's already helping. And I'm also gonna grab my flatten tool and help out the rest. And this doesn't look like much, but when I go to multi-resolution and go even just one step up, look at this nice clean shape. Now I can see from this side that this is also looking very round, and I want a little bit more of that flatness. This is basic shape, so I go back to multi-resolution. I'm gonna grab this and pull this forward. Let's polish it with flatten. That is nicer. Alright, it's time to block in the eyes. I'm gonna grab the brush tool and I'm gonna make sure that sub is active. But as you probably imagine, we don't really have enough resolution for the eyes. That's okay. I'm gonna jump one more step. It's very low poly, but let's see what happens if I go even one extra step. I'm gonna make some real big, wide and cute eyes. And you probably appreciate that even though we are working with low poly, my brush is leaving a lot of bumps and texture already. Now to fix this, I'm gonna grab the smooth tool. There's a shortcut here at the left. I'm gonna make this small, and this is literally gonna do that. It's gonna smooth surfaces. It averages the position of all the points that it touches. Now you gotta be careful with that, because if you average too much, you're destroying the shape. That looks good. Back to my brush tool. I'm gonna block in where the nose is gonna go. Roughly there. I'll need more detail very soon. But I also want to block in where the teeth are gonna be. I'm gonna pull one teeth, two more teeth. Cute. Let's blend it here at the bottom. Very subtle pass of the smooth tool. Look at it from all points of views and sweet. We're ready to go another step up. I'm gonna polish that nose a lot more. I'm generally going for an upside down heart shape. Now I'm gonna grab the crease tool. This is gonna give me a sharp thin line. I'm gonna use it to refine the shape of the teeth. And in case you're thinking that I'm working really fast, I'm actually not. I usually try strokes, look at them from different views, and often just try again. I'm editing out a lot of that because it would be a very boring video. Now once again with crease, this time I'm gonna invert it. So instead of pushing down a fine line, now it's gonna pull it out, and this is really good when I wanna define corners. So I'm gonna go around the orbit of the eyes to define it a bit more clearly. Alright, let's go one more step up. Crease tool again, and now I'll do a similar thing with the nose, defining it a bit further. For the inside, I'm just doing a sharp line. Very nice. Now for the very final detail, I'm gonna grab the paint tool. I'm gonna open this brush menu on the top right. I'm gonna pick a mid gray. And because we're keeping things very simple, I'm just gonna turn off roughness and metalness. I only care about color right now. And I'm gonna paint the inside of the eyes. The detail of the paint is also defined by the resolution of the mesh. When you're painting, if you feel like it's looking too pixelated, the answer would be, once again, to increase your resolution. I'm gonna look at my skull in the distance, so this works for me. Congratulations, you have made your first sculpt. And you have learned the majority of the tools that I use. I know there's a lot of them here, but truly, you only need something to pull and push, something to move, something to flatten, and something for sharp lines. Alright, let's make this more interesting. On the top left menu, I'm gonna tap on the picture icon, and I'm gonna activate reference image by tapping import. This is gonna allow me to select an image to place into the background as my reference. It doesn't matter how I move the camera, this is always flat. Now on the very same menu, I'm gonna bring the opacity down so it's not as intense, overlay so I can see through my sculpt, and I'm gonna make this a tad smaller. Next to my snap cube there's a little house. I'm gonna tap that, and this is gonna place my camera on the perfect front and center. It appears I accidentally sculpted my skull backwards, but that's an easy fix. At the left, at the bottom, look for Gizmo and tap it. This is a tool that lets me move an object in the world. So I'm gonna rotate it 180 degrees. To make this a perfect rotation, at the left, I'm gonna activate snap. It's usually gonna be at 90, but I can modify that number. Now it's gonna rotate only by 90 degrees increments. So now I know that it was perfectly flipped. Once again, I'm gonna tap the little house. And now I'm gonna select the view tool. And without rotating, I am just gonna zoom out and roughly place the skull where I want it to sit on my lantern. And when I am happy with that, here at the top in the center, I'm gonna tap on Add View. Now the cool thing about this is that I can rotate my camera, I can get rid of grid, I can even hide this reference image. But whenever I want to, I can go to this camera menu, tap on View, and it's gonna bring my camera straight back where I was. It doesn't matter how much I work and move around, I can always return to this exact point. Alright, let's create the body of the lamp now. And I'm gonna use the lathe tool. This is gonna let me create a curve that Nomad is gonna revolve. I personally do not like to draw it freehand, so I'm gonna grab on the left the path creation method. This way I'm gonna click and drag, then I'm gonna tap on the green circle, and by tapping on the line again, I can create another point. So I can do a much more controlled job and edit it as I need. Now, before I continue, as our overlord, Mr. YouTube demands, I must take a pause and ask you kindly to please like this video and subscribe to the Small Robot Studio channel if you want more videos like this. Now, it doesn't look like this is sitting at the middle. If I bring my grid, I can see the red and the blue line. So once again, I'm gonna grab my Gizmo tool. And I can just select the blue arrow and push it back. Or I can go here at the top and set the value of the blue arrow to 0. Now I know that it's sitting perfectly at the center. Oh, by the way, we have come a long way and we want to make sure we don't lose our work. So here in the top left, where I can see my folder, I can save my project. I personally like to activate the autosave, but I like to put it to 10 minutes. Alright, now we can focus on the base of my lantern. Once again, I'm gonna grab the lathe tool. On the background, I'm gonna click and drag to create a new curve. Tap on that green circle, and let's create this fancy shape. If I tap on an existing point, it's gonna turn black, which means that it's gonna create a corner. If you create a point that you don't want, simply tap and drag it into any neighbor point and it's gonna disappear. To create the top and bottom lid of this base, I'm gonna head into the scene menu, and this is where you will find every object that you have on your project. Now here at the top, I'm gonna tap on Add, and I'm gonna select a cylinder primitive. To see only my cylinder, at the bottom, I'm gonna tap on Solo. A primitive is just a basic shape. With these points or with the gizmo, we can edit its size and its topology. However, if you look at the right, I am missing a bunch of tools, my sculpting tools. But when I like this base shape, at the top I can tap on Validate. And this is gonna bring back all my sculpting tools. And now I can finally sculpt. However, I lost all the editing power that I had before. I like to keep my shapes as primitives for as long as I can. I only validate when I truly need to sculpt on them. Alright, we got our first cylinder in. I'll need another one, and a really fast way to do it is just to clone this existing one here at the top left. When I move it, the original stays in, and I've got another one to work on. Let me get rid of my reference image so we can see what it's looking like. It's not bad, but you know, the resolution is a bit low. Multi-resolution is not gonna work in this case because this is still a primitive. But I've got a tab that says primitive. Just like my cylinders, my lathe is on primitive mode because I have not validated it. I cannot sculpt on it, but I can still edit its shape. In this primitive menu, I can head to the topology section and bring this slider up to increase the resolution. I can do exactly the same for the cylinders because they are primitives. Now for the top of the lamp, we can do the same, or we can elevate our primitive game. I'm gonna select one of the cylinders and I'm gonna clone it once again. If I want to bring back the controllers I had before, here at the center, where I can see a little gizmo, at the left, I've got a little cylinder to access this edit mode. But what if instead of a perfect cylinder, we make this top an hexagon? To do so, I'm gonna go back to my primitive menu. And this time, I'm gonna bring the topology slider up to 6. And now I have 6 sides. Now I have a hexagon. That was pretty easy. Now, if I want to retain this shape, but also get higher topology, I'm gonna use this line that says linear subdivision. This is gonna cut each face by 4. Post subdivision is very similar. The difference is that this is gonna start rounding the shapes, which is useful too, but right now I want my sharp corners. Gonna head back to the front to polish this. Clone once again to place that bottom lip. And when you're happy, clone it again to place it on the top. Alright, we have used a lot of cylinders. Let's use a different primitive. Once again on the scene menu, tap on add, and this time we're gonna select a cone. It's kind of hidden in the middle, so with the gizmo, I'm gonna bring it up. I'll squeeze it down and place it where I want it. And that's a dog making noises. Moving on, once again, scene menu, add another cylinder, tap the gizmo. I'm gonna make this one smaller, this one is for the top. Open the primitive menu, and this time I'm gonna reduce the topology, and then I'm gonna increase the post subdivision because I want to achieve some nice curved corners. The lower that I go with my topology, the rounder they're gonna be. Alright, that's enough cylinders. Let's try to do something. Let's do something different. Another very useful shape is the torus, which is basically a donut. Now I want it to face forward, but I don't like these freehand rotations. So once again, on the left, I'm gonna activate snap to 90 degrees. And then I got my perfect rotation. Let's go back to my front view and position it. Even though I collapsed the menu, I still struggle to see what I'm doing. So I'm gonna go back to the background menu. I'm gonna bring my reference lower and I'm gonna scale it up. This is so I can focus specifically on this top part. I'm gonna select the view tool, make sure I'm on a perfect front, and I'm gonna zoom my camera. Open the camera menu and add view. Now I can navigate between the two. And the cool thing is that it's also updating the image. So now that I've got this, I can go back to my torus. Though it's very wide. So here in the topology menu, I am gonna decrease the inner radius. Let's squeeze it sideways. And we got it. Let's do one final detail. I'm gonna add yet another torus. I'm gonna align it with the edge of that cone and make it a lot thinner. I just want to have a little frame because that sharp corner is a little bit odd. You don't really see objects that have sharp corners like that unless it's a knife that is meant to cut. Now, I still got these little thingies at the center, but before doing those, I want to create the handles. And for them, I'm gonna use one of my favorite and most versatile tools in Nomad, the tube tool. Like we did before with the lathe, I'm gonna select the path creation method, click and drag to get my line, tap on the green circle, and I've got my tube. Now I'm gonna tap on the line to get another point so I can create the rest of this line. This little orange circle is gonna let me control the width. My reference does not have a consistent width. It starts wide and then it tapers. To achieve that, here at the top, I'm gonna tap on radius. Now I have a size controller here at the top and at the bottom. So I have independent sizes from the start and end. For the end at the bottom, I'm gonna add a little sphere. It's hidden inside, but with the gizmo tool, I'll locate it and position it where I want it. And the final detail for the handle, this little extra ring here, which I originally thought of as a ring, but maybe I'm gonna solve it as a sphere. Beautiful! I actually quite like that sphere. I'm very happy with this handle, but you know, you can continue experimenting. Try to see what happens when you play with these options. Even just with the gizmo, I could give it a little stretch sideways, so it's thicker from a side view. I don't want to go too crazy with all the options. This is a beginner video after all. Now that I have one handle, I could clone it and rotate it 180 degrees if I want two handles, but you know, I could actually add more, but I would have to do a bit of maths. Or I could be lazy and go to this scene menu, select those three objects that make my handle, go to add, and select the mirror repeater. And that does everything for me. Now I've got my two beautiful handles. Or let's undo. Again, all of those selected, add, and select radial. And this is going to repeat it around a circle as many times as I want. And it saves me from doing a bunch of maths. Isn't this magical? But you know what is even more magical? Yes, exactly. The amazing peeps who have joined our Patreon. You are the very best. But seriously, in this economy, making good quality free lessons is not easy, so your support is key to make that possible. Thank you so much. If you want to be magical as well, and gain access to our growing library of assets, head to patreon.com/smallrobotstudio. Alright, let's get back to Nomad. It is time for details, and you know what details mean, right? It's high resolution time! So I'm gonna select the body of the lamp. Open it here on the scene menu. I'm gonna tap on clone so I have a duplicate. And I'm gonna hide the original. I'm doing this to have a backup in case I make a mistake. Now with this duplicate selected, I'm gonna head to validate. This is no longer primitive, so now I can sculpt on it. This could be a really cool opportunity to add some ornamental engraving into it. But you know how to do that, so I'm going to show you something different. Let's activate the wire to see the topology. Head to the topology menu, multi-resolution, and I'm going to subdivide this a couple times. Now, here on the left, I'm going to select mask. Typically, a mask is an area that I paint to protect. Anything that I painted black is not going to be affected by my brush. Now, this is a traditional use of the mask, but I'm not going to use it for that. What I'm gonna do instead is hide everything except the body by activating solo. I'm gonna hide my reference because I don't need it right now. And I'm gonna paint a little wire that surrounds the body of the lamp. I want it on front and back. And right now I only have symmetry from right to left. So I'm gonna go to the symmetry menu. On the top right, I get a nice reference of where the symmetry line is running on. And I'm gonna select the Z-axis. Now whatever I do will show on the four sides. Let's try again. But my line is very wobbly and I want an even line. I don't want it smaller and then bigger. So I'm gonna open the stroke menu. I'm gonna find the option that says lazy rope stabilizer. This is a nice delay that gives me a lot more control over my lines. use the value that works best for you. And I'm also gonna go to the pressure tab, and I'm gonna deactivate the pressure radius and the intensity. This way my line is always gonna be even. Now I can paint a much more controlled line. Don't forget this button over here is gonna reverse the action of whichever tool you are using. This tool paints, so the reverse action is erase. Now that you have a pretty line like this one, let's open the mask settings with the mask selected, and I'm gonna grab this first slider, the height, and see it's gonna create a new geometry based on that shape that I painted. So I'm gonna control how deep it is. I only want a small wire. I'm happy with that, so I'm gonna tap on extract with shell active. And this has created that wire on top of the body, which is great to break up the surface a little bit, make the design more interesting. I just realized that I missed one small detail, these little things at the top, which I'm gonna do with techniques that you already know. I'm gonna create a small box, I'm gonna bring it up there, place it where I want it roughly. I'm gonna add a radial modifier to that box and move it out of the center. This is what it looks like with 4 boxes. If I want to add more, select the modifier, this repeater, and I'll get the options once again to add as many as I want. And we've done it! We have a lantern and it looks legit. Hopefully you haven't forgotten that we started sculpting a skull, which is right now hidden by everything. So I'm gonna select the body of the lamp. I'm gonna open this 5th menu with the circle, the material menu. And here at the very top, I am going to select additive, which is gonna make this body translucent. And I can increase or decrease the opacity. And I had no idea I had a cheeky cone hidden in there. It looks like it's right here. Don't worry, that's an easy fix. And there we go, our beautiful lantern is completed. The last thing that you want to do is go to the top left, tap on the Nomad icon, and here at the center, select Turntable. Your creation is completed. But hey, if you want to learn a couple bonus tricks to make your lantern even cooler, head over to our Patreon. Well, you will find a bonus short video. Otherwise, you're gonna find those little tricks released as shorts in our channel. As always, I love to see your creations, so feel free to tag me on social media. I'll see you soon, and happy sculpting! That's it for this tutorial. If you find it useful, make sure that you leave a like so other people can find it. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, as we are bringing out CG and illustration tutorials every week. Become a patron and access tutorial assets, bonus content, a private Discord, and more by clicking in the link below.